All right, let's open this one up. Case file, The Fractured Self. Now, what we're looking at here isn't just a theory, it's an observation. It's a journey into the architecture of the mind, documented act by act. This is the official record of a deconstruction. So let's begin the examination.
And that's our jumping off point. The whole idea behind this case is that the stable, familiar self we all think we have is, well, an illusion. The source material describes it as a haunted house, a place that feels like home but has become terrifyingly strange, or unhomely as the file puts it. And we're about to see what happens when that floor just gives way.
So, Act 1. This is where it all kicks off. Our subject, designated the Traveler, enters this psychic space. But they're not alone. They almost immediately encounter a catalyst, a figure the file refers to as the Architect, or sometimes the Holy Fool.
The setting here is absolutely crucial, and we're not talking about a physical place. This subterranean cathedral is the deep unconscious, an obsidian dark space where the walls, according to the file, are calcified with our own forgotten desires. It's a kind of psychic prison built to contain the raw, turbulent energy of the id. But the Architect, well, he's about to start making some changes.
This table here lays out the initial conflict perfectly. You've got the Traveler, who's just searching for their own true nature. You have the Ego, which acts as this defensive barricade. Its entire job is to suppress the chaos of the id. And then there's the Holy Fool, this prophet-like figure who shows up and starts etching these glowing sigils into the stone, deliberately bypassing the Ego's defenses to speak directly to that primal, sleeping energy. Yeah, the stage is set for a major psychic fracture.
Okay, let's move to Act 2. As the Ego's walls start to crack, the Traveler is plunged into what the case file calls the Mirror Labyrinth, a space specifically designed to shatter their sense of reality by forcing them through the uncanny valley of the self.
Inside this labyrinth, the rules of the surface world just don't apply anymore. First off, time collapses. Every trauma, every repressed memory is no longer in the past. It's all happening at once. Second, the I, that solid sense of self, it just scatters. The Traveler sees not one reflection, but countless fragmented versions of themselves, splintered across all these different dimensions of trauma. And this all leads to the crucial point. The boundary between the I and the other, between who you are and what you are not, begins to completely fray.
This profound disorientation leads us directly into Act 3, and really the core confrontation of this entire psychic event. The Traveler is forced to look into that silvered pain and face what is truly staring back.
The file describes this incredible symbol, etched right on the cathedral walls, the Ouroboros of the Ego. It's a really visceral image of a human figure literally unzipping its own skin, but underneath, there's no flesh, no bone, just a cold, silvered mirror. This is the moment the Ego's narrative completely fails. It's the horrifying discovery that the self we've so carefully constructed is nothing more than a costume.
So let's break that down. On one side, you have the ego ideal. That's the polished, curated story we tell ourselves about who we are. Virtuous, cohesive, you know the deal. But on the other side, reflected in that mirror, is the uncanny double. It's that nameless, primordial force that was always there, hidden just beneath the surface. It is, as the source material says, the stranger wearing our own familiar face. And this is the beginning of the ego's total collapse.
With the ego fracturing, a new power starts to assert itself in this psychic landscape. Act 4 introduces an absolute impersonal authority that replaces that familiar voice of our inner critic.
And that's really the key question, isn't it? The superego, that internal voice of morality and judgment, has gone silent. So in that vacuum, what kind of law could possibly take its place?
The answer from the source is stark, and it is absolute. The dead father. Not a comforting figure, but a cold, impersonal, and final law.
This authority manifests as the hollow sun. It's described as being carved in negative relief, radiating a cold, stark white light that doesn't illuminate, it strips away. It's a psychic scalpel, peeling back the last layers of the ego, and its presence is so absolute it silences the superego entirely with the roar of the void. This is the ultimate expression of the death drive, pulling all psychic energy toward inorganic stillness, and the final realization under its vacant gaze: we are not the masters of this house. We are merely guests.
This brings us to the climax, Act 5. The Traveler undergoes a final, transformative ritual, one that's designed to make the fracturing of the self permanent.
The case file calls this the inverted Eucharist. Instead of consuming something holy, the traveler must consume the bitter bread of the odd. They have to integrate the very monster they have violently cast into darkness. This is the point of no return. The ego ideal is shattered for good, and in its place, the raw, turbulent energy of the unconscious is finally and totally liberated. The self no longer just occupies the temple. The self becomes the temple.
So what happens after a total collapse like that? The final act isn't about recovery. It's about the aftermath. It's about what the traveler brings back to the surface.
This slide illustrates the new reality perfectly, the tears of the id. These are described as small divots in the temple floor, symbols of a permanent change. The unconscious is no longer suppressed. It's in a state of permanent leakage into conscious life. The repressed has returned, and it will not be contained again. The transformation is irreversible.
And so, the file concludes. The traveler doesn't emerge healed or whole in any traditional sense. They are not the master of their own house. They now carry, as the source notes, the subterranean dampness of the unconscious back into the waking world. They have become a living embodiment of the uncanny.
The file ends on this single provocative line. After this harrowing deconstruction, the ultimate finding is a rejection of the self as a separate, isolated entity. What if the most dangerous fiction of all is the belief that we are ever truly alone in our own minds? Case closed.